My name is Donna King, and I'm 30. That night, the dining room was bright enough to make truth look tacky. I held my resignation letter like a party favor no one wanted while my mother's fork froze midair, a silver pendulum deciding my fate. "You what?" she said. Then the laughter started. First Mom's sharp, hiccuping squeal, then Dad's full-body wheeze that made the salt shaker tremble. "Sweetheart," he coughed, "you left a six-figure management track. For kale?" Across the table, Jason squeezed my knee once, a quiet press that said, "I'm here, even if they aren't." He didn't try to rescue me. That's why I love him. He doesn't yank me off the stage. He trusts I can hold the mic. "It's not a phase," I said. "I signed the lease. I move next week." Mom dabbed at eyes she swore weren't crying. "A farm, Donna? With chickens? Are you going to name them after your stocks?" I conjured a smile and swallowed the sting. "Beyonce lays on Wednesdays?" I deadpanned. Jason snorted. Mom didn't. 8 years climbing a corporate lattice that pretended to be a ladder, polished shoes, passive-aggressive congratulations. A standing ovation once for saving a contract that a man named Steve later took credit for. "You're good," my former CEO, Mr. Aldridge, had told me, "but you're not memorable." It haunted me. Memorable to whom? To a conference room? To a spreadsheet? I didn't leave to prove anything. I left because an Excel file shouldn't be able to swallow your name. The first weeks on the land tasted like rust and rain. I slept in a trailer that smelled like old linoleum and forgotten plans. My hands blistered, then split. You can't YouTube fencing and expect the posts to stay loyal. The stove had two moods, glacier and volcano. I invented curse words. Woke to muscles I didn't know the city kept on mute. Jason came out weekends with coffee and ugly knee pads. "I brought reinforcements, guys," he said, lifting a bag of compost like a trophy. Also, snacks. We weren't performing for anyone. We were building something that might not clap back. On day 19, a green spear shouldered through the dirt, one fierce sprout insisting on existing. I crouched, breath held, like a pilgrim at a relic. The sky didn't split. A choir didn't sing. Good. Quiet miracles aren't for crowds. My family's silence lasted a week. Then the texts. "Mom, hope you're enjoying your mud vacation. We saw a Whole Foods billboard. Maybe they're hiring." "Dad, are you selling worms next?" "Sister," a meme of a scarecrow captioned, "You after quitting to chase a vibe." I didn't respond. I wrote in my notebook instead, planting schedules, pH swings, failures I promoted to teachers. I ate eggs 12 days straight because Beyonce, diva that she is, respects no calendar. I learned that organic often means plants die slower and with dignity. I learned I could too. My first Saturday market, a crate, a hand-painted sign that read, "Back to Soil Farm," and a knot in my throat thick as rope. $92 and a bag of goat cheese later, I felt rich in a language my parents never studied. Next week, $120. Then $180, then $300. A boy named Eli held up a pepper like a dragon egg and asked, "How do you make this?" "Magic," I said, "and compost." Online, Mom commented on a photo of my first sprout. "Is that lettuce? Should we be impressed now?" I typed 3 responses. I posted none. Nights, I traced greenhouse dreams over graph paper, lines turning to ribs, ribs to breath. Jason would find me under the single bulb, pencil behind my ear, dirt under my nails like a signature. "This is going to work," he'd say, not a question. "Say it again," I'd whisper. "This is going to work." A DM pinged from Sabrina, the ex-girlfriend who once told me my career made me intimidating. A boomerang of her wine glass captioned, "Cottagecore is cute. Let me know when you're done pretending." I muted her and watered basil. By midsummer, my stand was a vibe I didn't try to manufacture. Reusable totes, tattooed dads discussing microgreens like vinyl. A chef with a scar smiled at my peppermint basil, left with 3 crates of kale and a jar of hot sauce I hadn't planned on selling. I labeled it Mom's Concern and pretended the joke didn't hurt. Sundays had been family day growing up. Now it was me, the goats, and Wynn teasing arugula. I didn't miss the sheet cake in a break room where Bob asked if I'd updated the shipping spreadsheet. I missed a sentence I'd never heard. "We're proud of you." 3 weeks later, the market throbbed like a small concert. I was balancing a crate of purple bells when the black town car pulled up, unapologetic, as if the asphalt were a red carpet. He stepped out pressed, precise, all sharp lines and soft hands. Mr. Aldridge. I felt the pass press a cold palm to my neck. Dirt streaked my forearms. Sweat banded my hairline like a halo that earned its place. He scanned the crowd, my chalkboard menu, the line curving like a question mark. Picked up a beat, rotated it like he was reading its resume. "This beat," he said, "means business." "Mr. Aldridge," I managed. "You probably don't remember me, Ms. King," he said, smiling, "but I remember you." He glanced at my laminated flyer, CSA signups, school partnerships, restaurant deliveries. "Have you thought about scaling?" "I'm working on it," I said, too steady to be a lie. Behind him, someone grumbled about the line. He ignored it. He always did. He pulled a small leather notepad from his jacket, anachronistic and disarming, jotted something with a pen that had opinions, then slid a check across my table like a plot twist. "I want first pick of your winter harvest," he said. "Think of it as a vote of confidence." $20,000. My name spelled correctly, ink confident as a signature on a treaty. For a second, the market blurred. Then focus snapped back like a rubber band. A woman in yoga pants asked if kale was gluten-free. "In its soul," I said, bagging it. Aldridge adjusted his cufflinks, the light catching like applause. "We'll be in touch," he said. "Don't disappear again, Donna. People are watching now." He stepped aside. The line moved. Money is loud, but work is louder. I tucked the check behind the crates, pulse hammering. Across the parking lot, I heard a hum that had narrated my childhood. A silver Toyota Camry easing in like uncertainty. I knew that engine note the way you know an old argument. The car slowed. Mom leaned forward, mouth opening as if proximity could explain what she saw. Dad squinted the way men squint at facts that won't fit their story. They took it in. The line. The crates with hand-stamped logos. Mr. Aldridge shaking hands with a second chef who had just arrived, the way strangers said my name like it belonged in their mouths. They didn't get out. They didn't wave. The turn signal ticked. The Camry slid away. I didn't chase. I missed it ahead of rainbow lettuce, held it to the light like a cathedral window, and set it gently on ice. Jason appeared at my shoulder, breath warm against the noise. What was that? "Validation," I said, not smiling. "Expensive, inconvenient validation." He glanced at the disappearing Camry, then at the check peeking from behind the box of radishes. "You sure you want to keep it?" "I'm sure I earned it." We worked until my arms shook. Eli brought me a crayon drawing, me with a cape, super sprout stitched across the chest. The sun bled down the edge of the tent. The crowd thinned to the stubborn and the curious. Somewhere a dog barked at something that wasn't a threat. My phone buzzed. "Mom, 7:12 p.m. Saw you at the market. Looked busy. Hope you're taking care of yourself. No mention of Aldridge. No, we're proud. Just diet concern wrapped in a bow." I typed a dozen replies, erased them all, and wrote 2 words to Jason instead. "We build." He answered with one, always. When we loaded the van, the check sat where I'd hidden it, quiet as a seed. Not a finish line, a beginning. I slid it into the ledger, next to a sketch of a greenhouse I'd traced and retraced like a prayer. In the margin, I wrote a sentence I needed to see in my own handwriting. "You don't plant if you're planning to leave." Outside, the field darkened to a hush, the kind that asks you to listen. I did. The soil answered back. 3 days passed before my phone lit up again with Mom's name. Her message was short. "Mom, 8:04 p.m. Saw your booth on Facebook. Looked busy. Just don't forget you have a degree, Donna." No congratulations. No mention of the $20,000 check that could have bought their entire dining set. Just a reminder that my diploma was apparently wilting in some imaginary frame. I didn't reply. I spent the evening counting seedlings and promises. The check from Mr. Aldridge sat in a mason jar on the counter. I'd refused to cash it right away. I wanted to see it there, a quiet rebellion, sealed under glass. Jason sat on the porch, his laptop open, helping me budget the next season's expansion. "You could start with a small greenhouse," he said. "Something manageable. Solar panels, drip system, maybe partner with local schools?" I smiled. "You sound like you believe in this more than I do." "I believe in you," he said, not looking up. "That's the difference." Still, at night, doubt crawled in with the crickets. I'd stare at the cracked ceiling and think about my parents' silence, how it always felt heavier than their laughter. They'd made silence an art form, like sculptors of disapproval. Then, one Sunday morning, I got the voicemail. Dad's voice. Awkward, like he'd rehearsed it. Hey, Donna. We drove by again yesterday. You had a line. Looks like things are working out. I mean, Aldridge. He was always hard to impress. Pause. I guess I didn't realize what you'd built. Not pride, not apology, just acknowledgement, like I was a tree they hadn't noticed growing until it blocked their view. Jason heard it too. That's something, he said gently. Barely, I muttered. It's like he's congratulating me for fixing a leak in the roof instead of building the house. By October, the leaves turned copper and smoke-sweet. My hands stayed stained with soil no matter how much lavender soap I used. That's when my sister called, a rare event reserved for family holidays or borrowed money. So, she began, her voice honeyed with fake warmth, Mom and Dad were wondering if you'd, want to host Thanksgiving this year? I nearly dropped my coffee. Host? Here? On the farm? Yeah, you've got the space, right? It'd be cute. Rustic vibes. Everyone's dying to see what you've been doing. I could hear Mom coaching her in the background. Say rustic, not muddy. Sure, I said finally. Rustic. Why not? Jason raised a brow when I told him. You're really letting them back in? I'm letting them visit, I corrected. There's a difference. For 2 weeks, I prepped. I cleared a patch beneath the oak tree, strung fairy lights, borrowed tables from the local church, and stacked mismatched chairs like memories waiting to sit. I printed menus, labeled everything farm to table. They arrived 40 minutes late, naturally. Dad in loafers, Mom in white. She looked around like the soil might stain her expectations. Well, this is quaint. Jason greeted them with polite warmth, offering cider. Mom sniffed it, then asked, Do you have anything less sweet? I smiled, pretending I didn't hear. Dinner's almost ready. As the family trickled in, cousins, aunts, and my perpetually unimpressed sister, phones came out faster than gratitude. Donna's Farm, someone announced on Instagram Live, panning over the tables. So rustic, right? The hashtag countryside. Aesthetic bloomed under my breath like weeds. Dad sat down, eyeing the spread. So you really dig holes for a living? Not holes, I said, serving squash soup. Systems. He frowned. Same thing, isn't it? No one asked about the greenhouse plans pinned on my kitchen wall. No one asked about the chef contracts Jason had helped me negotiate. They were too busy taking photos of the roasted carrots, the ones I'd harvested that morning in freezing wind, for content. Dinner ended with pumpkin pie, candlelight, and a vague sense that I'd just hosted an exhibit, not a meal. As everyone stood to leave, Eli's grandmother, the one who always bought my beets, stepped forward and hugged me tight. You built something beautiful, dear, she whispered. Don't let them make you small again. That nearly cracked me. After they left, I stood on the porch with a cup of cold cider and the sound of wind against the oak. Jason came beside me, resting his hand over mine. They still don't get it, I said softly. They don't have to, he replied. You do. In the kitchen, the dirty plates stacked like proof. I looked at them, the scrape marks, the leftovers, the crumbs, and realized something. They hadn't come to celebrate me. They'd come to borrow my success, to dress it in linen and call it family. But I wasn't angry. I was awake. That night, I opened my notebook and wrote 4 words across the top of a clean page. Boundaries are harvest too. Outside, the air smelled like frost and new resolve. The next morning, before sunrise, I found a note under my door. Jason's handwriting. You don't owe anyone an explanation for blooming. I smiled, folded it into the back of my ledger beside Aldridge's check stub, and whispered to the dawn, let's grow bigger. Winter rolled in sharp and clear, the kind that makes every sound, every breath, every creak, feel louder. The fields rested, but I didn't. Jason and I spent nights drafting plans by lantern light, sketching the future in pencil and hope. The contract with Mr. Aldridge came through in January. Real ink, real signatures, real partnership. He arrived in a dark coat and a mood that smelled like money and control. You've got something special here, Donna, he said, scanning my small office, a repurposed shed that still whistled in the wind. But you need structure, scale. I've got both, I replied, setting down my folder of projections. I just don't need permission. He laughed, that smooth, practiced laugh of men who'd never been told no by someone with dirt under her nails. I like that, he said, signing the last page. When he left, I exhaled so hard the papers fluttered like startled birds. Jason hugged me from behind. That's it. You did it. I smiled against his shoulder. No, now we start doing it. That night, we celebrated with cheap champagne and roasted root vegetables, our version of fireworks. The check from Aldridge wasn't a dream anymore. It was a key, and I was done waiting for anyone else to open doors. A week later, I sent a photo of the signed-in contract to my family's group chat. Me, officially partnered with Aldridge Farms. Expansion begins this spring. Silence for 2 hours. Then, sister. So you're like a dirt CEO now. Mom, private message. Wow, proud of you. I wish you'd let us be more involved. I stared at that last text. Involved suddenly meant ownership. It meant rewriting history to make themselves the visionaries who always believed in me. I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on the farm. By March, Back to Soil Farm had grown into something real. We'd built new raised beds, a delivery system, even a proper staff. 3 interns and 2 part-time helpers. Jason called it a tiny army with good playlists. Every Saturday market, our crates sold out before noon. People took selfies in front of my logo. Chefs mentioned us on social media. It wasn't just produce anymore. It was a movement. Then, one morning, my phone rang. Dad. Morning, Donna, he said, voice casual. We're at the market. Which one? Ours, he said, like it was obvious. I stepped out from the greenhouse, wiping my hands on my apron, and there they were, Mom and Dad, standing stiffly in front of a sold-out sign. There's nothing left? Mom asked, disappointment wrapped in entitlement. Not today, I said. We opened at 8. Lines formed before sunrise. Dad frowned. You'd really turn away your own parents? I crossed my arms. You were never customers. Mom's voice softened, too soft. Come on, honey. You know we just didn't understand at first. Exactly, I said. You didn't understand, and that didn't stop you from mocking it anyway. Dad shifted, folding his arms like armor. So what now? You just build this empire and shut us out? I looked around at the team loading boxes into the branded van. My van. Empire's dramatic, I said. But yes, I built something. Without you. Mom tried again. So are we partners now? I smiled faintly, calm as a tide. No, but you're welcome to visit as guests. The word hung between us, heavy and clean. Guests. Dad scoffed. Guests? Exactly, I said. No discounts, no input, no rewriting history. I turned and walked away, leaving them in front of a chalkboard menu still faintly smudged with sold out. Customers passed, complimenting the display, taking photos, thanking me. My parents stood there like they'd stumbled into someone else's story, because they had. Back inside, Jason was labeling jars of hot sauce. That went okay? He asked carefully. Depends on your definition of okay, I said, slipping off my gloves. He smirked. Did you use the guest line? Oh, I used it. He laughed. Good. Boundaries look good on you. That evening, we sat by the field as the sky burned gold. The air smelled of rosemary and new beginnings. Jason nudged me with his shoulder. You know, he said, for someone who started with a trailer and 2 chickens, you've come a long way. I looked at the horizon, where the sun dipped behind my greenhouse frame. Yeah, I whispered, and this time I'm not asking anyone to clap. When the stars came out, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Mom, 1 voicemail. We didn't mean to upset you, Donna. Your father just doesn't like being left out. We're family after all. You can't keep pushing us away forever. I hit delete and closed the phone. Some messages don't need replies. Later in my journal, I wrote, when they stop seeing your worth, make them buy a ticket. The frost glimmered across the field, and somewhere in the distance, I swore I could hear the soil breathing. Alive, unapologetic, and entirely mine. By early spring, the farm no longer felt like survival. It felt like rhythm. Every sunrise had its own percussion. The thud of boots on soil, the chirp of thermometers clicking on, the hiss of misting lines waking up. I wasn't just growing food anymore. I was growing momentum. The new greenhouse shimmered in the morning light, like a promise finally kept. Aldridge's partnership had given me resources, but I'd given it soul. This, Jason said, running a hand along the polished glass panels, looks like the future. We'd hired 3 interns, students from a nearby agricultural college, plus a driver to manage deliveries. I caught my reflection in the van's glossy side, my name and logo, Back to Soil Farm, now printed in clean green letters. Seeing that, I whispered under my breath, "It's real." But real came with weight. Emails poured in from restaurants, influencers, even hotel chefs wanting exclusive produce boxes. The farm hummed like a machine. And with every new success, I could feel the faint tug of old ghosts. The people who once mocked me, now circling back like moths to warmth they didn't believe existed. The first ghost arrived on a humid Saturday. I was restocking onions when a familiar voice floated over the crowd. "Wow, this is really your stand?" I turned, and there he was, Greg Patterson, my former department manager. The same man who once told me, "You'll burn out in 6 months chasing your little farm fantasy." Now he stood sweating through a golf polo, clutching a reusable tote bag. His wife trailed behind, pointing at my jarred tomato pesto. "This is the one everyone's been talking about," she said. Greg shifted uncomfortably. "Donna, hey, long time." "Sure is," I said, tying a bunch of carrots. He cleared his throat. "This is your business, huh?" "Technically, my flagship location," I corrected. "We've got 3 now." His eyes widened. "3?" I nodded, keeping my voice even. "We're expanding distribution statewide next quarter." He looked around, taking in the line, the QR code on the stand, the polished crates. "Wow, you really stuck with this." I did. He hesitated, then pulled out his wallet. "What do I need to pay for a full crate of whatever you've got? My kid's allergic to preservatives now. Doctor says, fresh or nothing." I packed a box of greens, beets, and herbs, every color of the earth, and handed it over. $120. He didn't flinch, just peeled 6 20s, handed them over like penance. As he turned to leave, I couldn't help myself. "Hey, Greg." He paused. I smiled, calm but razor sharp. Funny who ends up in line. He managed a dry chuckle. "Yeah, guess it is." Then he left, shoulders slumped under the weight of irony. Jason appeared beside me, smirking. "Was that the spreadsheet guy?" "The very one," he grinned. "Closure looks good on you." But not every ghost wore regret. Some wore perfume and sunglasses. 2 days later, a familiar notification blinked on my phone. Sabrina, the ex-girlfriend, the one who used to laugh when I brought home seedlings and call them Donna's emotional support plants. Her message: "Hey, stranger, heard your farm's the new big thing. Congrats. I'm doing PR consulting now. Would love to collab. Could really boost your brand story." Jason read it over my shoulder. "Wow," he said. "She's got nerve." I exhaled slowly. "That's her brand." She followed up with a voice note, smooth, rehearsed, dripping with "we." "You've built something authentic, Donna. That's rare. I could help you tell it right. Press, interviews, maybe even a feature. Let me stop by. Strictly professional, of course." Jason looked at me, cautious. "You're not actually considering it, are you?" "Of course not," I said quickly. But part of me wondered if press meant protection, if being visible could shield me from the quiet ways people tried to minimize what I'd built. Still, I didn't answer her. I let the message sit unread until it slid down my screen and out of sight. That weekend, Jason helped set up the first community workshop, Seed to Table Saturdays, for local kids. Eli, my youngest customer, was front row, proudly wearing his tiny assistant manager apron. We taught them how to plant mint, how to listen to soil, how to be patient. Watching their faces light up when sprouts broke through the dirt reminded me exactly why I'd left my old life. Afterward, while cleaning up, I noticed a sleek silver car parked at the edge of the lot. Not the Camry, different this time. I squinted. A woman stepped out. Red lipstick, sunglasses, hair too perfect for humidity. "Sabrina." She waved like we were friends. "Donna, you look amazing." I wiped sweat from my temple. "What are you doing here?" "Just happened to be in the area," she said, sliding her glasses up. "Thought I'd drop by. Wow, this place is so cinematic." Jason emerged from behind the tent, crossing his arms. "Can we help you with something?" Sabrina's smile flickered. "Just wanted to see the legend herself. Maybe get a few shots for an article?" "There is no article," I said. She tilted her head. "Yet." I looked past her to the rows of crops, to the kids still laughing in the field, to the life I'd clawed out of clay and disbelief. I tell my own story now, I said. Sabrina's lips tightened. You always did like control. No, I corrected. I like peace. She left soon after, her car tires spitting gravel behind her like punctuation. Jason touched my shoulder. You okay? Yeah, I said quietly. She's just another weed, and I've gotten good at pulling those. That night, under the low hum of greenhouse lights, I opened my ledger again. Between sales tallies and seed inventory, I wrote a note in the margin. Growth attracts shadows. Keep your light anyway. The next morning, when the interns arrived, they found me already outside, coffee in hand, misting the new rows. The air smelled of rosemary, basil, and resolve. The world could spin, people could talk, but the soil, the work, the rhythm, those things stayed loyal. And this time so did I. By summer, the rhythm had become a roar. The greenhouse hummed like a living engine, interns laughing between rows, deliveries rolling out every morning with the sound of van doors slamming like applause. Back to Soil Farm wasn't a project anymore. It was a network. 3 farms under one brand, weekly produce boxes in restaurants across the state, and a small team that believed in the vision as much as I did. One afternoon, while labeling jars of sweet pepper jam, Jason scrolled through his phone and grinned. Look, he said, showing me a photo Aldridge had sent. Our kale, plated at a luxury spa retreat, logo stamped on the bowl. The caption read, Farm to Soul Dining, courtesy of Donna King's Back to Soil. He laughed softly. You've officially gone luxury, Ms. King. I rolled my eyes, smiling. Guess dirt cleans up well. But success doesn't come without ghosts trying to rewrite the past. It started small. Family likes on my posts, heart emojis from cousins who once called me the hippie dropout, then a comment from Mom under a photo of our market stall. We always knew our Donna would make something special. Always knew. I stared at it for a long moment before simply deleting it. A week later, Dad called. No hesitation this time. Donna, your mother and I are thinking of stopping by this weekend, just to see the place again. You've already seen it, I said. Well, we'd like to bring a few friends, he added, his tone casual but calculating. They're part of the Rotary Club. Thought it'd be nice to show them what you've built. I bit back a bitter laugh. So I'm the new tourist attraction? Don't be like that, he sighed. You're finally doing well. We're proud. It should have sounded sweet. Instead, it rang hollow, like applause that came 2 acts too late. When Saturday arrived, I saw their SUV pull into the gravel lot, followed by 2 shiny sedans. My parents stepped out dressed like they were visiting a winery, not a working farm. Behind them, their friends gawked at the greenhouse and posed for pictures beside the crates. Mom smiled like she was co-hosting a talk show. Isn't it charming, she said to her guests. Our daughter built all this from scratch. We supported her from day one. Jason froze beside me, jaw tightening. I squeezed his hand. Let me handle it. I walked over, calm, collected, and tired of editing the truth. Actually, I said, that's not quite accurate. You laughed. You called it mud vacation. You said I was wasting my degree. Mom's face paled. The guests went awkwardly quiet. Well, that's not what we meant, she stammered. Parents joke. Some jokes leave bruises, I said softly. Dad cleared his throat, trying to change the subject. We were just telling them how successful you've become. A real family venture now, huh? I tilted my head. Family venture? He smiled, hopeful. Well, technically, you couldn't have done it without... Without what? I cut in. Without your permission? Your silence? The tension cracked through the summer air like lightning. Jason stepped closer, silent support radiating off him. Dad, I said, my voice steady, this isn't a family venture. It's my venture. You can visit, you can take photos, but you don't get to edit the story. The words hung there, final and clean. One of the guests coughed. Well, the produce looks remarkable. I smiled politely. It tastes even better. When they finally left, Mom lingered by the car, eyes glossy. You don't have to keep punishing us, she said. I'm not, I answered. I'm just living without apology. As the SUVs rolled away, the gravel settled into silence. Jason exhaled. That was brutal, he said. Necessary, I replied. Boundaries usually are. That night, I sat on the porch, the sound of crickets steady under the hum of the greenhouse lights. I opened my notebook, now thick with pages, years of planting, failing, learning, forgiving. At the back, I found Jason's old note from months ago. You don't owe anyone an explanation for blooming. The corners were worn, smudged with dirt. Fitting, I thought. Growth always leaves a mark. I looked out at the fields, the rows swaying under moonlight, whispering like waves. My phone buzzed again. Dad. I let it ring out. He tried again. I texted back 2 words. I'm harvesting. It wasn't defiance, it was truth, because I finally understood what harvest meant. It wasn't just crops. It was everything you protect, everything you build, everything you refuse to surrender even when they come calling with rewrites and regret. This farm, this life, wasn't proof that I'd been right. It was proof that I'd kept going. And as dawn crept over the horizon, lighting the field's gold, I whispered the same words that had carried me from cubicle to soil, from laughter to peace. You don't plant if you're planning to leave. The world could question, rewrite, or doubt, but the earth never lied, and neither did I.